All right, let's start off with what seems like a totally irrelevant and mundane fact. I bought a new internet router. I'm not associated with this company in any way. They didn't sponsor this or anything, but my purchasing of this really highlighted for me a fact about life and about humans and about behavior that I think a lot of people really underappreciate. I know I underappreciated it when I was younger, but the older I get, the more I am realizing that this simple fact about human behavior and establishing healthy habits really should just be acknowledged and then worked with in the easiest possible way. Now, this simple fact also undermines a whole lot of mythology that we have about people who accomplish great things. It undermines a lot of mythology and false beliefs we have about what it means to be successful and how to be successful in really any and every facet of life. So let's talk about all of this stuff, and then we're going to get to the router and what it has to do with building muscle and what it has to do with feeling good in your body and being able to move and touch your toes and do an Asian squat. Okay, so router aside, there is this myth that willpower is the most important aspect of getting fit, of being healthy, of being able to do whatever goal you're trying to accomplish. And while willpower is somewhat important, I think the vast majority of people, myself included, greatly undervalue the value of some sort of boundaries and accountability. Because when you're trying to establish any sort of new habit, you're trying to change some behavior, you're basically already hardwired to keep doing the thing, right? You're just doing the thing that you're trying to change. And without some sort of boundary that is firm and stops you from doing that thing, your willpower will almost always fail. Now, just think in your own life the number of times you've probably told yourself, yeah, I'm going to stop using my phone as much. I'm not going to scroll on Instagram or YouTube or whatever as much as I have been, because 6 hours a day is really pretty out of control. And so your willpower failed about 30 minutes into the day. It's happened to me many times. Or maybe you said, you know what, I'm not going to eat so much junk food. All that junk food that's there in the cupboard, I'm going to not look at it, I'm not going to touch it, I'm not going to eat it, I'm just going to eat good, healthy food. And that probably lasted a day and a half or 2 days because the junk food was still in the cabinet. You still went in, sorry, not cabinet, cupboard. Maybe you keep it in the garage, I don't know. So anyway, you open the door, you saw your junk food, you're like, well, it's there, maybe it's okay if I just, just this one time. Right, so your willpower is if you're going to bet, you should bet that your willpower will fail with anything that you're trying to do. So when you're trying to establish new exercise habits, you're like, hey, I want to start stretching more. I want to start lifting weights. I want to do whatever more to get my body feeling better. It's really easy to fall into the habits that you fell into before, the ones that got you to this place with your body not feeling good. And I'm not trying to lecture you from this position of like, yeah, I've never done that. I've done that so many times, it's kind of ridiculous. That's been part of my own process of understanding how to heal the human body. This year, I even hired a coach to be accountable to make me do exercises. And luckily, I trust him, and I can just send him text messages, we send videos back and forth, he sends me a whole list of things to do, and that helps me stay accountable. I know, okay, here's my structure, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do these exercises. If I want to do other ones too, I can, because I have a library of exercises in my mind, and maybe I want to adjust, but no matter what, I have this workout that I need to get done because I have to tell my coach that I did it or I didn't do it, and I have to tell myself that I either paid this money, that wasted, or I paid this money that got me results because I actually did my workouts. Hey, in case you haven't heard, I'm donating 1 cent to the Wounded Warriors Project for every single like that my videos get on YouTube from now to the end of 2024. I'm also going to donate 1 cent for every new subscriber that we gain from now to the end of 2024. So if you want to help me and the Wounded Warriors Project, just hit the like button, make sure you've subscribed, and watch some more videos and hit that like button. All right, let's get back to it. So the structures matter, right? Like the accountability matters. The constant saying to yourself like, I'm gonna do this, and if I fail to do this, I'm a failure, I'm weak, I don't have willpower, I'm just lazy. Like that whole set of thoughts doesn't really help you accomplish anything. You just start feeling worse about yourself when you could actually fix the whole problem by setting up structures, by setting up boundaries, and then setting up accountability with somebody else, or even if it has to be with just yourself. But I don't think that's as powerful as accountability to another human. So if we're going back to the examples of, I want to stop eating junk food, well, having it in your house doesn't help you, right? Making it super accessible doesn't help you. You haven't set up boundaries that are going to help you succeed. So if you're saying, I'm gonna stop eating all this crap that makes me feel like crap, that makes me look like crap, that makes me move like crap, well then you have to get all of that food out of your house and make it very difficult to acquire. Obviously supermarkets always have this stuff, so it's hard to make it difficult to acquire, but this is where accountability might come in. Tell a family member, friend, your roommate, whatever, like, hey, if you see me bring this in, or you find it hidden in the trunk, or you find that I've stuffed it in the glove box, I need you to throw it away and then slap me in the face, right? Like you need to set things up so the boundaries make it very difficult for you to generate the willpower to overcome the boundaries, rather than trying to get your willpower to overcome habits that might have been ingrained for 15 years or 20 years or however many years. So if you want to really use willpower in a good direction, you want to set up all the structures and all the accountability, all these boundaries to make sure you have to generate willpower to overcome the things that stop you from doing the thing that you don't want to be doing. Okay? Now, how does that relate to my router? Again, this is not a promo for this specific router. Although there is a specific reason I bought this router. This company has some specific features that made me buy this specific router. I have been telling people for years that if you want your body to feel better, you're going to need to sleep better. And if you want to be able to move better, you need to sleep better, because sleeping better helps your brain function better. It helps you recover from exercise. It's just really important. I have also, in my course, my Body Rebuilding Basics course, which is free on my website. If you don't have it already, I encourage you to go check it out. It's at uprighthealth.com/BRB. In that course, I even talk about sleep habits, setting up good sleep hygiene habits, because I saw for myself just how valuable it was to say, you know what, before I go to bed, I should not be on devices, I shouldn't be watching videos, I shouldn't be working on my computer. If I do those things, my sleep is not as good, I don't sleep as soundly, I'm more restless, I'm a little more stressed out, I wake up not feeling good. All through my teens and 20s, I was always on the computer, and then when I'd wake up, I'd just feel so bad. My shoulders and neck would ache. Everything would just feel bad. Even though I thought, well, I'm resting at night, everything would feel bad. And that would set me up for miserable days. And then I would just do that day after day after day because I was miserable. And then I'd go online, and maybe that would make me feel less miserable. Maybe I could find some way to be less miserable on the internet. Maybe there's some diagnosis that's going to help me feel better. Maybe this is some horrible disease, whatever. Sit around Googling all night long and then go to bed and you realize, like, oh, it's still there. I still feel like crap. So I discovered, hey, if I'm not using the computer before I go to bed, I actually wake up feeling more refreshed, I feel better, everything's better. So I share that, I've talked about that before, it's in that course, the Body Rebuilding Basics, and for the most part, I stick to that. But then throughout any given year, there are multiple periods where I will get sucked into this desire to be more productive, this desire to like, oh, I need to figure out whether or not this is the best, whatever, surfboard, snowboard, what kind of gym equipment do I need in my garage? You know, is it better if I have this kind of car or that kind of car? What's better for the environment? What's better for my body? Like, it could go in any direction, right? It could go in literally any direction, and then I'll get sucked in. Or maybe I'll go on YouTube, which is, I have a Roku, it's on my TV, and then I'll watch that. My family goes to bed, and then I'm like, yeah, let me learn about whatever. And then I'm watching YouTube until 12:30 or 1, and then when I go to sleep, it takes me a while to fall asleep. And this creates a spiral where I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good, but that makes my mind less focused, and then I just want to bounce around the internet more, and then my brain just wants me to stay up late on the internet. So I know the correct answer is to not go on the internet. I know the correct answer is to turn off the TV, make sure I don't watch it, just go to bed, and then get a good night's sleep. But even though I know that, and even though I've practiced that as regularly as possible, I will find throughout the year that I break those rules, my brain and body deteriorate. It's not good for me. And so this happened recently, over the last couple weeks it happened, and you know, I had a really terrible night of sleep. I started to feel a little bit sick, and I was like, really? This again? How many times do you have to do this, man? You're in your 40s. Stop doing this. You know better. And I came to this realization, like, yeah, but knowing better isn't going to help, right? Like, knowing better doesn't actually solve the problem. Even if I'm doing a good job 75, 85% of the time, there's still this huge chunk that I don't want to be giving up, right? I'm tired of making the same mistake. And I know there's actually a solution because I've done things for other people, been the accountability partner for other people that made it possible for them to change things. Because willpower for them was failing, and it almost always fails. In some cases, of course, willpower works, yes, obviously. Like, willpower helped me with a lot of things. And also, boundaries, firm boundaries and structure make a big difference to establish a new habit. Okay, like before you tell me like, oh, willpower, like look at Marines, look at Navy SEALs, look at military, you know, look at these MMA guys, look at warriors. Nobody does all that by themselves, right? If you look at, say, Marines, Navy SEALs, the men who go into those programs to become those warriors, they want to do it. They go into a strict, structured program where they're with other men who really, really, really want to do this thing, and they have the support, moral support of all these people, as well as a whole group of leaders who are trying to weed out the weakest. So there's this whole incentive structure to make sure that if you want to do this, you really, 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 really better want to do it. And you're going to do it to 150,000% of your effort. Because if you don't, you're out. Right? It's not just willpower alone, like I'm going to become the best. It's if you really want to be the best, you better be proving it to a group of other people constantly, minute by minute, second by second. If you aren't willing to consistently prove that, you're out. There's a consequence. There's a firm boundary. There's a firm structure that says you're going to perform or you're gone. So if you want this, you got to do it. Okay, so it's not like 100 guys go into BUDS, into the Navy SEALs training program, and they're like, we really want to do it, so I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week, and I'm going to work out 10 hours a day by myself, and I'm going to go learn how to use a weapon, and I'm going to go do all these other little training things by myself. No, you're doing it as a group. You are accountable to your team. You're accountable to your leaders. There's all this structure in place to make sure you want to be there and that you're doing the things you need to do. Okay? Same thing with fighters, MMA fighters. They have coaches, they have people they're training with. They have strong willpower. They're willing to punish their bodies. They're willing to do things to learn and to grow, but they still have accountability structures. They still have people helping them do what they need to do to become who they want to be. They're not just like in the garage by themselves, never learning from somebody else and never having somebody else set up training programs for them. As far as I know, that doesn't happen. So where does that put this router? Why am I talking about the router? Well, because I realized there was a significant portion of the time in the year that I was failing to go to sleep at the right time, like as if I were in college again. I realized, you know what, I need to find some sort of router that just lets me make a mature decision to block myself from making the wrong decision. And so I went online, I started looking around, like, are there routers yet that can just schedule access? Because that seems like a really basic function. And I discovered that it's like for some reason, this is like a niche, right? To have like useful parental controls built into the router is not a huge market. I don't understand this. It should be built into every single router out there. But many router companies either want you to pay a subscription to be able to do simple things like this, or they don't even have the function, which is ridiculous. So anyway, I found a company, Asus, which is a popular gaming company. Not that I am a gamer and not that I'm encouraging that you become a gamer, but Asus has parental controls built in. You can schedule internet access. You can schedule it to cut you off. And I've done that. Basically, it just says, you know what, the internet on your computer, the internet on the TV, the internet on your phone, in the evening, they go bye-bye. So you can't access the internet anymore, sorry. Now, of course, if I want to, I could like go into the app and then figure out, like, once this block is on, I could go into the app and try to unblock it and do all that stuff. But that's extra effort. That's requiring me to generate the willpower to circumvent the boundaries that I put in place for myself when I was in a smart mental state. So when that happens, I go, well, I know why I can't access the internet. It's because I shouldn't be accessing the internet. It's going to take me a bit of time to actually circumvent this, and I know it's probably better for me to just read a book instead and go to sleep. And guess what happens? I go to sleep. I go to sleep. And then I wake up feeling good, like predictably good. There's no surprise here because the boundaries set me up to succeed. And so I wanted to share this story and all of these observations because I think a lot of people waste a ton of time beating themselves up over not having the willpower to do the thing they know they should do. Willpower, more often than not, fails because there are no boundaries, there are no structures, and there's no accountability. So you're just not going to do the thing that you know you want to do. So if there's a thing that you want to do, I highly encourage you to set up the boundaries to take away the temptation to keep doing the thing you're used to and make it a lot easier on yourself to just do the thing you want yourself to do. So in terms of going to the gym, of exercise, it can be a little more difficult, right? Like you can't remove all the distractions in your home, right? You can't remove all the responsibilities in your life, but you can try to make it as easy as possible. You can say, I've got my gym bag ready, it's in my car, right? You can make sure you're a member of a gym that's close to your home or work. And of course, you probably need to set up some accountability structure with somebody else and say, hey, family member, friend, I'm telling you, I need to go to the gym twice a week. I'm going to tell you every time I go. If I miss a day, you get to punch me in the stomach or whatever. You get to throw salt in my eyes. Just some sort of incentive structure that makes you really, really motivated to do the thing that you want to do. It doesn't have to be salt in the eyes. I don't encourage that. I've never done that to anybody, I don't think. If I have, I apologize. I mean, I must have meant it if I did it, but in hindsight, I shouldn't have done it. You can give yourself positive reinforcement, like, yeah, hey, friend, if I do this twice a week for 2-3 months, say 3 months, then I get to take a day off work and go watch a movie or go to the beach or whatever, right? Something that you really want, or I'll take a weekend trip to some place I've always wanted to go to. Set something up that's actually motivating, and don't be afraid to set something up that scares you, right? So something that's going to be a negative stimulus if you fail. So friend, if I miss a day, I owe you $15. And if I miss 2 days, I owe you $30. And if I miss 3 days, I owe you $100, right? Just like make sure your consequences are motivating enough so it feels like firm boundaries so you can't mess up. It's going to help you rebuild your body. So I strongly, strongly recommend you do this. Also, same structures that I've talked about work for literally anything. Just make sure you set them up in a way that works. And if you find it's not working at some point, just adjust, right? Your accountability partner, adjust it. Tell them, hey, it's not enough, it's not scary enough, or that's not motivating enough, and then adjust it so that it works. And if it's still not working, then you really need to think about how are you structuring your life? How are you structuring your schedule? And are the things you're trying to do even reasonable given the set of responsibilities you have as an adult? Because if you're a working adult in your 40s or 50s, you're never going to get on a workout schedule that the 18-year-old Navy SEALs are doing. It's silly for you to try. It's most likely going to injure you. So don't try to do that, right? You want to be making sure your goals are aligned realistically with what you can accomplish. Unless you are a genetic and physical outlier, not going to say freak, but outlier, you're not going to be able to do the workout schedule of somebody who's 30 years younger than you and also genetically gifted. Okay, so be realistic. And in terms of sleep, I highly recommend you do something to make sure you're not on your devices at night. That's something I talk about in my course, something I'm going to talk about here. I think you need to do something to make sure you don't get stuck on the internet. If you're one of those people who doesn't get stuck on the internet, who doesn't fall down these rabbit holes, I applaud you. I wish I were you. But since I'm not you and willpower fails, I got a router from ASUS, and they have controls to cut you off the internet, and it's awesome. I highly recommend getting a router like this if you are an internet addict like some of us out there. So if you have any other thoughts, ideas that you want to share about willpower, about internet addiction, about rebuilding your body, things that you've learned in your life that work for you to help you establish better habits, I ask you to drop a comment down below. I'm also going to share a link to a book called Atomic Habits that I found really helpful in just kind of clarifying how to set up good habits. I don't use all the tools all the time, but for anyone who's trying to set up better habits, I highly encourage you to check out Atomic Habits. It's a really good book. Really, really good book. And the strategies I talked about here, you'll find them in that book as well. And if you're trying to rebuild your body, go to my website, uprighthealth.com/BRB to get the body rebuilding basics, free workouts. I'm even going to put an accountability tracker in there for you so that you can start building your body on your own. And yeah, I hope you find it all helpful. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks. Life shouldn't.